All right, here we are. We got one more maneuver for today, which is springing off. Now, this maneuver is primarily really important for when we have a wind blowing us, pinning us onto the dock. We've got kind of no wind. It's kind of pinning us onto the dock, whatever, but this is what this is for. Contact onto the dock, closer to that boat, did a reverse up and it. So here we are. We've got set up a bow spring, which is really long, and there's a reason for this. Really long, so from the bow cleat, outside everything, outside the fenders, all the way down to this big bollard at the back. Anywhere positioned in this area in the aft quarter of the boat, absolutely fine. We also got our stern line on. Those are the only two lines we got on, and we're in forwards, engaged against the stern line and against the spring. Our helm is to port, okay? Pushing the stern of our boat in. First thing, I'm gonna make sure we're all clear, everything like that. We're gonna release our stern line and just sit here on the spring. Stern line off. Now, whenever we release a line like that, we can sense check ourselves that the boat's sitting in the right position. It will peel out a little bit, but you see now we're just sitting on this bow spring. Now, the boat's gonna naturally pivot and find its settle point here. Blair's gonna turn his helm to center and start driving the stern out. There we go. And it starts to pivot out. And you have your crew member up on the bow watching this fender. You need a fender right in the bow, right that way. Also be careful of the anchor. This is almost too close for our anchor. Contact. Okay, so I tell him we got contact there and it's safe. Now Blair can actually turn the helm to starboard and drive the boat out further. There we go. If you've got a lot of wind, you might need to add power to do this. So let's say we add a little bit of power, Blair, just a tiny bit. It's going to increase our turn. There's the power. And we've got more pressure on a bow spring, and your crew member is watching here, making sure that your fender is placed well and that your bow is not going to get too close or even remotely close to the dock. Now we pivot out. Now, if the wind is blowing us onto the dock, this is giving us time to reverse away without our bow dragging along here. Now, if you're single-handed doing this, this is the reason for the really long bow spring, okay? And you'll see that in a second. So, next move, Blair's happy with his position. We can't go any closer to that boat down there. He's going to go neutral, center his rudder, and into reverse. Into reverse. Immediately, the boat starts springing away. Now he's going to port helm, and he's going to reverse up into the wind. At this point, he can lock his rudder, and he can come forward, and he can release this line. Now, this is the reason to have a really long bow spring, because look how much time it gives him to release this line and recall it back. Now, even if you didn't make it and it grabbed, it would just grab and you would be reversing away from the dock. Now he's retrieving that line in. If he needed to bail out of this at any moment, he could just leave that line trailing, go and sort his helm out, and then come and pick it up. Our bow spring's in, our boat's turning around. We would have benefited from a more central helm in that one. I think the helm slipped over to port, and now he can drive us away from the dock. All right, so that's springing off in a very, very basic sense. We're going to find some really awesome conditions to show you this. I actually did this with 25 knots on the beam, pressing me onto a dock in the night in Greece 2 months ago. I can't remember how much of that I filmed. I think I filmed some of it, I'm not sure. But it really works. And a long bow spring is the key to that. And if you have to do that single-handed, then having a really long bow spring really helps that out. Okay, otherwise have your crew member up here. You'll notice that Blair did an 0800 with the base line, and then he had an 0800 over top of the cleat with the top line. So that way he could release either. In any case that something got jammed or anything, he could release either of those lines. Look, I hope that was helpful. Like the video if you have not already, share it with someone you think it would help, and see us in the next episodes. Nice.